My name is Cheryl Dixon, and together with my husband Roger, we run Hayne Farm Cottages in North Devon. We have a self-catering holiday business with 8 cottages, and we have an on-site children's farm which allow the children who come and stay with us to come down and get involved and feed the animals each day. We have 8 part-time members of staff in addition to myself and my husband who are full-time, and we're a family business, so we have quite a few family members that help us as well. We took over the business in 2004, so we have been going just over 16 years now. When we were told that we had to close the business at the end of March, we were in shock. We'd never been told to shut ever before, so there were so many things going on in our head at that point. When we first shut down, the steps we took were very practical. So the first priority for us was to speak to our staff, because at that stage we didn't know that there'd be a furlough scheme. So it was really important to us to reassure the team that, that we would look after them. And we then had to look at the customers, our visitors who were due to arrive that week, next week, so the immediate arrivals and the ones just beyond that, so we had to make contact with them. Another of the really important aspects was looking at the financial forecasting, because I think the immediate concern was, can we get through this? How do we actually financially manage? So Roger sat and looked at all the financial forecasts. We have spreadsheets, and so he started to put in the figures that would affect how we could move forward, and that actually made an enormous difference, because once we knew we could get through the next couple of months with no support, we just relaxed a little bit, and actually by relaxing that enabled us to sort of clear our heads a little bit and start being, I wouldn't say positive, but in a position where we felt we could cope a little bit more. Our staff, our team, as we call them, we don't tend to say staff, but many of them have been with us for years now. So the fundamental thing that helped us was to make them feel that they were not forgotten, and to make them realise that their safety was absolutely crucial to us. We didn't have to, for instance, go out and buy the cleaning equipment that we did. We didn't have to go out and buy a fogger or anything like that, but we wanted to, because we wanted to demonstrate to them as much as anything that their safety, their health was really important. Our guests, we call them our families. Our families are absolutely everything to us. Keeping that contact with our families has been crucial throughout all of the pandemic and throughout all of the lockdowns, even when we're open, when we're not open. The thing we used to always do was regular Facebook posts and social media posts, use Instagram and so on. So we've always had quite a good relationship with our guests via social media. But what we found was that we started using video a lot more during the lockdowns, and they needed to be fun. There was so much bad news around. Everything was so grim all the time that every time we put something out there, we tried wherever we could to bring something funny or an element of sort of lightheartedness to it. And lots of guests were saying how much they had missed our voices. So to get a video rather than a regular Facebook post, it made them feel a little bit closer to us. We hadn't really appreciated that, how important it would be. For us, the welcome has always been a massive part of what we do here. We've always gone out and greeted our families and taken them in and shown them around the cottage and talked to them about the day, about the whole sort of holiday and what to expect. So suddenly to be faced with not being able to do that because we couldn't have the contact meant that we had to completely look at our our welcome and our departure routines, and how we could still be who we were safely. We were aware that the pandemic was making us look at shutting a lot of facilities that we had previously been able to offer our guests. And I think this was one of the things that bothered us the most, because it felt like the pandemic was forever taking away and saying, no, you can't do this, you can't do that. It seemed like it was all just negativity the whole time. We did recognise, of course, that our communal areas, such as our children's play barn, was not going to be able to open in the same way. And I also knew that had been a really important part of the children's holiday experience. Coming here to play with other toys that weren't their own is actually really exciting for children. So one of the things we decided to do was buy some large toy buckets, some toy trugs, as we called them, and we allocated a large bucket for each cottage. And then when the children arrived, if they wanted to, they could come up to the play barn and they were able to collect their own toy bucket. But more importantly, again, it was the fact that when guests arrived, it wasn't all negative. It was, yes, okay, we can't let you go in the play barn, but what we can do is this. And that was so, they were so grateful. It was so well received. When they actually turned up, we were so excited to see them. And I think that we made a point of being out, obviously at a social distance, but we made a point, both of us, of being out in the courtyard when they arrived. And a lot of them we knew very well, so that was even harder not to hug them. But you just to be there, you celebrate the fact that they're there and they're excited. I mean, we made a big thing of that. For us to have got to that point where they could come back was huge. It was a mini celebration for every family that arrived. It was a mini celebration, both on their side and on our part. So yeah, that they were strange times, but they were good. Yeah. Accessibility and inclusivity are really what we're all about here. We have never set out to run a children's farm that is totally exclusively for children with additional needs. That's not what we do at all. We want them to feel included. We want them to be part of something wider. So our holidays are for all families. They're for families with young children. And if those young children have got additional needs, great, it's fine. How can we help? What can we do? How can we make that better? We're lucky we have a good understanding of autism and additional needs, and I think our understanding and our awareness, we've had training and so on as a team, but all of that information that we already have enables us to provide a really successful holiday experience for our guests. We recognised quite early on that the lockdown was having a significant impact on our autistic visitors in particular. Feedback from some of our parents was letting us know that the lack of their routine, I mean, all their world had suddenly changed overnight, and without a routine, they were really struggling. From that, we quickly realised that it was absolutely crucial that when we did reopen, we managed to keep essentially the same experience as much as we could for those children. Roger built a new one-way system for the farm so that we could accommodate social distancing. And the children now come down in their family groups rather than coming down all together. And that has been important for us to do that, obviously to keep the social distancing, to keep the individual families away from each other. But we have found that our children with additional needs have really benefited from that. One of the ways that we have helped our guests to navigate the changes of the new farm and what to expect on their holidays has been through social stories. A social story is a narrative which is illustrated. It's written in the first person and it's there to help anybody understand what to expect from a particular social situation. So we looked at that social story that we had already and we changed it. So we updated it to accommodate all of the new changes that the visitor could expect to find when they came on holiday. The one thing that has got our business through the pandemic has been not being afraid of change and not being afraid to think about those positive changes you can make. Changes don't have to be negative. We have found that speaking to other businesses has been a tremendous support. They are very happy to share their experiences, and sometimes talking it over with a like-minded business can really make a difference and helps you to not feel alone. If I could offer similar businesses one piece of advice for when they do get to open, it would be to keep contact with their guests, keep that engagement going and keep it fun and keep smiling.